Hi, welcome to the channel. I'm Carson Goldman. This is the Goldman Cave. We're doing something a bit different. This is our first chat show kind of thing on the channel. On the lead up to Halloween week, we have a lot of changes to the programming. We've taken all our role-playing shows and mashed them up and taken them away from their normal settings, as well as their normal parties, put them also into a 1920s Call of Cthulhu setting. So that's going to be going on this week. And on top of that, every donation of $1 per 100 bits you do today during this show, you will give them luck dice for all of the characters and all the cast members on all the shows this week. So it helps boost them up. And if you know Cthulhu, you'll know how much the players will need luck, because we're going to probably kill off the characters, or we're going to drive them insane, or both. And the order is up to you. But back to the chat show, back to what we're doing. We have a few people in here, a few people you might recognise. One I've known for 10 years, 11 years, I believe. We'll talk about costuming, cosplay, and other bits and pieces. So we'll go across to everybody's show and see if the unmute button works for everybody this time. So, hi everybody, how are we going today?
Hello. Doing good.
So, for the first time, we've got an Australian-based show instead of an American-based show. So this is quite different. We've kind of stacked it the other way for once.
Hi, from America.
I know. Emi, would you like to do your introduction of who you are and what you do?
Hi, I'm Emi Rabbit, but you can just call me Emi. I here on this channel, I'm in the Rusty Daggers show, and I play Meg, the Goblin Bard. But you can also find me over on Gathering of Nerds, where we do D&D one-shots every week. And yes, I am in cosplay. Should I say who I'm cosplaying?
You can if you'd like. It's up to you.
I'm Bakugo Katsuki from My Hero Academia.
Okay. I'm just saying the hair actually looks kind of like Meg's hair with that.
Does.
The character you play with Meg is very much that outwards blonde hair.
The poofy hair.
The poofiness.
Though his is white. So
that's blonde. It's white. It's
close.
I can tint the out. I can tint the artwork a little bit.
I'm starting to go a little bit white. But
under all this, it's all white. Under the colour here, it's bad
everywhere.
white. And Near.
Hey everyone, I'm Near. Obviously, I'm from, two shows on here actually. Children of the Marsh, I play Asteria, our lovely fire mage who just likes to set everything on fire. Because you want to watch the world burn. And on Wednesdays, I play in the Rusty Daggers, where I play Meva, our nice half-elven druid / witch. Me personally, don't got really much like Emi. I'm not part of any other shows other than this. I'm a cosplayer, obviously, so Hi, hello. I'm actually not really in full-on cosplay. I'm just wearing the wig of my character, but his name is Oba Saragaki from Dramatical Murder.
Okay.
Don't look up the game. Please look up the anime.
Yeah, look at the anime. It's clean. The game is not suitable for work.
Yes.
And if you're sensitive to really full-on graphicness, again, don't.
Not safe for work. Not safe for work.
Even if you're not at work, if you're sensitive, don't. And lastly, someone that I've known for a lot longer than everyone else here. Sid, would you like to say who you are, what your background is, and of course the companies that you're involved with?
Hey, well, my name is Sid, and I have a company that I've been running for 26 years in Australia called Circus Works. And it's evolved over those sort of period as making and selling and building equipment. Circus equipment and things. I'm a circus performer as well, or a bit more retired. I'm not quite so bendy and bouncy these days. And that developed. I ran a circus school for about 6 years in the Carriage Works down in Sydney, and basically now I've kind of retired a bit, and I like to dress up and show off, and I've worked in all sorts of different sort of comedy, like commedia. That's how I learned to do clown and all sorts of things like that. My background is I'm a nuclear physicist, so I studied nuclear physics, but I also played in bands, and my bands used to play the soundtrack for a small circus company. And then through that, I learned to do all my juggling and my fire. And I married a trapeze artist and ended up in Australia. My recent project is a thing called La Galerie Mobile, which is with a collaborator called Andrea Davis, who's a fantastic, amazing artist. And we've known each other for 30 years. And so we've created all these moving art pieces. And that's what you can see behind you there. That's based on Monet. So they're popular artists, and yeah, we've created these fabulous costumes. Yeah.
So
and we travel all over the world, sort of performing.
Yeah.
Still walking.
Yeah. So it's not you're seeing the one behind me on my green screen, but what we have on the overlay, we have on the show is the scrolling pictures on the overlay. That's all from the Galerie Mobile. It's absolutely amazing. It's the artwork and the creativeness, absolutely just amazing. And I've known Sid through Circus Works, doing work with him for a long time. So I want to ask Emi, and because we're doing both cosplay and costuming, because there's also there's a very much mix between the costuming that you do in the Galerie Mobile, and also some of the older ones you used to do with the Circus Works, with the mechanoids and things like that.
The still walking costumes, the
still walking costumes, because it's still costuming. It's still the same thing. It's cosplay is just a. So how I see cosplay is trying to, and please correct me if I'm wrong, to represent a popular folk culture, an image, a person, or from comic book or from etc. So am I about right of that? Trying to recreate that and trying to...
Yeah.
The term actually, I believe, right? Doesn't it come from costume play?
Yeah, so the word originally comes from just costume play. It's a Japanese word, but it tends to be all comics and just pop culture stuff nowadays. Yeah. It's basically you love a character and you're just I want to bring this character to life and meet other people, and it's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm about right. So I just want to make sure I'm on the right level here before I even start. I want to ask just this for everybody. What brought you all to costume, to working with costumes? I think Sid, yours may be a business side of things rather than.
No, I've always enjoyed dressing up.
Oh.
Always. We used to dress up as Kiss when we were at school, and wear makeup for parties and all sorts of things. So always dressed up.
Okay.
I had a bunch of really fun friends who just, needless to say, we used to get in a lot of trouble, but it wasn't quite accepted in those days.
Well, it's even people still days dressing up as Kiss, and they were playing. I think they're playing soon, or they've just played on the weekend at Newcastle.
I'm going to see them in November. They're playing in Melbourne.
Nice.
Yeah.
Funny thing. That's my dad's favorite band.
Yeah. Thanks for making us all feel old.
I had to throw it out there.
We've only been in this for 10 minutes and I've said it once already.
Start a counter.
Near, what brought you into to doing cosplay and whatnot?
So mine's a little bit more of a friend base, because I've been to anime and pop culture and all that since pretty much ever. It wasn't until middle school where I had a friend who knew about cosplay conventions and had taken me to there, and about my high school years when I finally got into high school where I actually started cosplaying myself. Basically just friends who were into we were all into the same animes at the same time, Naruto, Death Note, everything, and it just led us all into this being our life. Next thing I know, I've literally been cosplaying since I was like 14. I'm now 23, if that helps. But yeah, it's pretty much just I found friends who were interested in the same hobbies, and we ended up into this lifestyle.
And Emmy?
It's somewhat similar for me. I'm actually fairly new to cosplay. I only really got into it after high school, like in my adult life. And because I went to high school in like the middle of nowhere, so I didn't have any friends who were into cosplay until I moved to the city. But when I was really little, I used to do lots of like theater stuff and things like that. So growing up with like a theater background and being a theater kid, um, hearing about it, all these people who like they dress up as characters and they just walk around and interact with people and get to pretend to be the character and do all these sorts of fun things. It just kind of combined that sort of like love of theater and the love of these characters that I just had to join in with all my friends doing it.
So what
I think
you
there's
needed
like
is circus parents, which had like a big costume box to play in. That's what you
I
needed.
needed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Apparently, when I was really little, I used to my Nana and Pop's place had like a bit where it was like the floor was a bit higher than the rest of the house, and I used to use that as my stage, and I'd like dress up, and so
I remember like I don't know if like your guys' high schools did them in Australia. I don't know how it is compared to America, but we'd have like a week of like kind of dress up days where you would do different things like the 50s or rocker 80s and stuff like that. And I was the kid who had my dad's outfits that he had from the 80s that I would wear. So I would do like everything, my hair, my outfit, all exactly how he did based off his pictures from the 80s.
Right.
Yeah,
we had free dress days, which were like sprinkled in throughout the year.
Yeah, I think my school kind of stopped them because then there was offensive dress days as well, which is like, yeah, let's stop those.
Poodle skirt from the 50s is everywhere. I needed to stop. I don't want to see the poodle skirt anymore.
We used to do these school musicals. So, I think one year we did Bugsy Malone. I don't know if you've ever seen the film, Alan Parker's film, Bugsy Malone. It's all the kids dressing up as gangsters. And they have these splurge guns. And they fire like cake mixture at each other. And they drive around in these beautiful like Model T Ford pedal cars. You've got to see it. It's called Bugsy Malone. Anyway, we did that as a music, and it's a musical as well. It's a film musical. And so we learnt all the songs, and you dress up as gangsters. And so we were allowed to dress up like we'd start doing the rehearsals, and immediately everybody just would go out and dress up as gangster. And before we knew it, like even like a week or 2 weeks before we did the show, people would just turn up for everyday school dressed in trilbies and ties and little things. They were like 11-year-old gangsters, just like streams of gangsters going into school because any excuse to actually wear anything other than a school uniform was just like, oh, well, not allowed to wear jeans, but we'll dress up as gangsters, and they couldn't. It was brilliant. And we did Pink Floyd one year, and there's a whole load of stuff. The Blues Brothers was another one that we always used to. Everybody ended up dressing up as Blues Brothers.
The black and white and the yep.
Yeah,
I think I never dressed up, but that was certainly a style which I liked. I really want to ask this one because what focus do you put into the designs and outfits? As in, is it the visual? Is it like how much detail? How much do you really go in, and how much reference material do you get to put these outfits together? Even from the Galerie mobile, because they are based off artworks, they are living art. So, like, I think Amy, like, how much work do you put into getting the absolute correct detail?
So with my stuff, I'm not always 100% accurate to the show. Like before stream, I was wearing cat ears because I felt like it. I'm one of those cosplayers where I like adding a little bit of like personalized detail to my costumes, like a flower crown or cat ears, or maybe some cool glasses or just something little to like just kind of personalize it and like do something a little different. Like I have this one character where she says in the show, I think on like 2 separate occasions, she's like, I'm queen of the castle, I'm queen of the castle. So I bought a crown and like a big cape so she could wear that, do something a little different and fun. But like in terms of the actual costumes, I've only just started making them. I used to like just buy the costumes. So in terms of like when I'm making costumes in detail, I think I get a little bit lazy sometimes, so it's not always 100% detail. So
Is it like wearing the same part of an outfit for 2 different outfits?
yes.
Which I also know is happening.
Yes. I haven't finished the dress, which is the only reason I'm not wearing that costume, but you know.
Nia, what about yourself?
Probably a little like Emi. Yeah, I definitely like to represent certain characters. Like if I want to dress up as the character I'm dressed up as right now, Alba. I love dressing up as his full outfit, and it's very in detailed, made sure it's like accurate to the character based off of the photo references from the game as well as like the anime. But there are also times where like me and friends when we cosplayed as a group, we would just do different group styles of the characters. So we did like a summer version where the characters actually had pictures of like kind of some summary ideas of clothes. We also did our version of Alice in Wonderland, which was Oba in Wonderland, and I wore a dress because I was just like, hey, let's be Alice in Wonderland. Why not? It's kind of just up to you if like you want to do something fun and quirky with the character. I don't tend to say I would be like strict on you have to get the perfect exact outfit. It's got to be done exactly. I'm just gonna have fun.
Because that'd be more for the cosplay competitions, like the big events.
Yeah, like I've signed up I think for one competition, and other than that, it's like I mostly just do it for fun.
Yep.
I think like another character I could think of, I can't remember his name. I think it's Itsuki Atoya. I think is that his name. I can't remember. I dressed up as one character, but for it, me and my group, instead of doing their normal like fancy like outfits that they did that only had like satin, I think instead we decided we wanted sequins. So we all color coordinated the characters to sequin fabric instead and just made all their outfits with sequins. So it would be like really flashy since they're all like pop stars. So it just kind of ends up like what you want to do with it.
And Sid, what about the Galerie mobile? Because they are taken directly from.
I just do quickly the few costumes that I do that are related to say a cosplay sort of thing is we'll do a few medieval festivals and Harry Potter things. So
yes,
I've got a costume that when you look at it, people go, "Oh my god, that's Hagrid." I mean, also because sort of there's a bit of an acting base. I'm from the I was brought up in the south of England and I went to university in the West Country. So I can do the West Country accent, you see, and I can sound like Hagrid. So, but it doesn't look exactly like it. So we're just sort of role playing, but they're great. They're a great base. And likewise with the wizards, oh, young Harry, you can do, I absolutely love doing that because people see it and identify it, but they're not, but the fun part is actually just making them into your own characters. So just ridiculous sense of humor. And, I've got a bit of a dad sense of humor, but, it's really, really good fun. But if I was to try and make it so accurate I like the improvisation, but if I was trying to make them into accurate characters, it would be insanely tedious and boring, I think.
Yeah. I don't have references for those for Haggard and for the old wizard. I've actually picked them up. Like if you search,
Gandalf.
If you search the Blacktown Medieval Festival, and like you go through all the images in Google, they are there, like in the backgrounds, and often they are the focus of the photos. So I like. Go and search them. They are there. That's what we're talking about. But I don't have reference to put them up quickly onto the overlay because that takes time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
And then,
but
okay, so and with reference to the Galerie mobile, they're all different. Like the very first costumes we made were the Cloudmen, which is based on René Magritte, who was a surrealist artist and graphicist from Belgium, and he was famous for his clouds. So that's the cloud suits, but also it was raining businessmen. So they had raining businessmen holding umbrellas, and so so we just make us. So we're quite austere, slow moving, like clouds. That's our character sort of thing, So we try and develop, because they're all quite unique costumes. They're not copies. We're not copying things, but there's essence of each artist, so that people can go, oh, that's René Magritte, that's Van Gogh, that's Monet or Liechtenstein. But then each costume we look at them and go, well, how do we? So the second costume we made was the Time Minders, which is Salvador Dali. So the first character is obviously I'm Dali, and then Andrea would be Mrs. Dali, and she's got it's a big clock dress. So it's based on the melting clock. So we thought, well, what characters are these going to be? So they became quite mechanical, like clockwork. So when we're moving like a ticking clock, and Andrea clips her feet together, and each movement is, so that's timing. So that, and that's basic kind of acting. That's basic sort of, you have a rhythm that you keep to, and then the
Van Goghs.
The Van Goghs, which are impressionists, they're there's just beautiful costumes. So there's lots of twirling in arms and graciousness, and it's just really fun to do. And Liechtenstein is a bit rock and roll. It's a bit pop art. It is pop art. So it's very sort of swinging 60s sort of thing, and there's lots of spinning each other around. And yeah. And they're all, I don't know if you notice, if you look at them, they've all got umbrellas, and they've all got lights inside them, or they're all illuminated in some way. So we've got our own little focus. We pull focus really easy, and you've got to give them all business. Otherwise, you're just going to be standing there like cardboard.
Yeah.
Which is, I mean, that's why you guys doing cosplay. I love watching the cosplay stuff, because it brings people out. They're influenced by the character they're playing, but it also brings people. It allows introvert to break past that introvertedness. I see myself as an introvert. I'm not an out there going, oh, blah 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 blah. No,
I may seem very extroverted on here, but I am very introverted normally, and cosplay is kind of a good way to let you feel like you could be anything. You can do what you want. You're confident.
Yeah, you do. Your costume, you become the costume. That's what's so wonderful, and that's
Well,
when you see people out doing it because they just do their hair and everything else, and people go, "Oh God, look at them, what they're trying to be." And I'm going, "Well, yeah, they're wearing makeup and whatever, and it's their makeup, it's their facade, but it helps them be,
Yeah, you put on the costume and you become someone else, and you almost have this bring on the persona, gives you confidence, because it's like, I'm this person. This particular character, he's very, very loud. So whenever I cosplay him, I tend to have to do these very loud movements and talk a lot louder than I normally would, and it's so much fun, just running around and being
I would
silly.
say, for the character I'm cosplaying, very bright and colorful. So it just kind of feels very good when you're out there and you're just in control. You're confident in what you're wearing. I'm not worried about what people think of me when I'm like this character, because I just don't worry about it anymore.
Yeah, just thinking, if Sid, if you're introvert, then I'm really introverted, because I don't even do any of that. I've never done the outward. Although that said, doing the circus stuff, doing the teaching, once I'm switched on to doing the teaching, that's it. And sometimes if it's busy, I'll just walk in and that's it, bang, into that persona, into the one-liners, the monologues that have been going on for years, and I get told off for.
But that's what introverts do. Introverts, you learn to interface, and you use these costumes, and you use something as a script as a prop to bring yourself out, to make you interface with the world, you know. Whereas sometimes, you know, extroverts can just be like blah blah blah, it's on, it's on, it's on, it's about me, and it's very, you know, so
Yeah.
Yep.
And
I think
so
also,
like a top hat, which I don't have any close to me, but yes. There
thing
was
also with,
something.
like,
Sorry. Yep.
just like the whole, like you were talking about, also because there's, you know, cosplay side of things, but there's the theater side of things, which I did theater for like 3 years I think in high school, and it can be very different, but it's also still a lot of fun because you're trying to like match to like time era that you're in for, like, you know, like I think we did, I can't remember the name of it, but it's like little girl is basically a murderer, and she may have possibly killed, you know, the janitor in her their like hotel, like their apartments that they live in, and a lot of other stuff. But the outfits are all very like structured to what the time era that they were in, and you have to kind of piece that together and make it feel like you're actually there watching it, which is so much fun to just like put on a show and have that environment,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. But yeah.
yeah. But there's also, when you're acting and you're working with a company, you've got this, there's that
Yeah.
camaraderie. So there's the different levels. There's what you
Yep.
produce and what everybody sees, but also there's that whole camaraderie
Yep.
between each other as well, which also feeds into the characters and the interaction and projection onto the stage. So.
I think it's the same with cosplay as well. Like both me and Nia mentioned that we got into it through friends.
Yeah.
I know that at the start of next month I'm going to a convention with a bunch of my friends, and we're like, oh, we'll do these costumes together. So like different characters from the same show. So we're walking around and we're like, oh, we can do this interaction and bounce off each other, and like
Yep.
it's that same sort of like camaraderie. It's so much more fun when you get to do it with each other. And when you're walking around and you meet up, like you see someone from the same show, you kind of just, you feel the urge to just, I just want to go up and interact with them.
Yeah.
Like you're just like,
Yeah.
huh.
I have made many of friends by just being out in the cosplay community as a character and just meeting somebody because they were cosplaying something, and then we just struck up a conversation and now we're friends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't get to PAX recently in Melbourne, like Melbourne, Australia, but I did get to Comic Con recently for in Sydney, and like there were groups, like large groups of friends cosplaying, as you said, the same computer game or the same reference, and they were interacting and whatnot, which certainly made a better atmosphere than, like, this is from an outsider's perspective, from like the solo cosplayer that had put on so much more effort. Although I did love the judging competition where it's like, okay, let's do a shout out for all the all the Star Wars, and they all start gathering and they all look the same and they're all playing the same characters. I'm like, yeah. It's like, next is all the Marvel comic ones, and they all start moving in. And it's like, but when they had like computer game like references or comic book references where it's like multiple characters and they're just running right, playing those characters throughout the place and interacting with everybody and putting the outsiders, putting the punters into that experience by putting them in the middle of what they're doing, kind of made it a bit more interesting, and then, like, from an outsider's perspective at least. And I just want to say, Mr. Producer mentioned something in chat that one of the computer game companies are actually doing style references and style guides for cosplayers.
Yep.
And I can totally see why, because it's kind of free marketing and free promotion, because like a lot of cosplayers like, this is what I'm wearing, this is what I've made, and then they have a picture of it. Oh, it's a computer game, so that gets sent out into the world, and you get more free advertising.
A lot of gaming companies and anime groups, as well as even like, there's I'll drop her name, but Yaya Han, she does she's a cosplayer. She does a lot of her own like brand of patterns you can buy, that you can buy the actual character pattern. But a lot of them have been doing it more recently where they do references so that you have all the characters' references, front, back, side, their hair, what they have underneath their jacket, so that you have all the pieces ready to like make that character.
Yeah, it's really easy now to find like you look up like, oh, this character, like the reference or like the like with anime in particular, like the reference picture they used for keeping like the character the same every time they drew them. Like they'll
Mm.
release that.
Yeah, continuity. So the continuity sort of
Yeah.
keep the
Yeah.
continuity.
I think there's an art book actually for Dramatical Murder where it has all the art of every design of the characters from like the original designs to the design that made it in the game, and then the layers of outfits from like take his jacket off, okay, take pants off. What have they have like something under there? If they have like a hat, they take it off. If they have a scar or something, like they'll take off the bandage that they have over. They'll have all of it referenced so that you know exactly what that character looks like.
Yeah. Yeah. So I've got
Yeah,
something just
there
off
are-
screen. So I've got something just off screen. I was recently at an event where it was promoted by a games company. Well, it wasn't promoted by a games company, but a games company came on board and did a lot of stuff for it. So this is the cover for my camera because I don't have a lens cap anymore. And thankfully my goblin hasn't been playing around with it. But so we've got the Borderlands mask.
Yes,
Which
I love it.
leading up to the release of Borderlands 3, there was a lot of these like sent out and given away, etc. And so social media, just by these cheap, very, very cheap masks, social media was like going up, like just going off because of these free costumes and people just having fun with them. And itself, like it perpetuated the promotion of a game which I don't actually support. I just want to make that clear. Don't.
They've been doing that with movies and things forever. I mean, God, when Star Wars first came out, you could get Star Wars for great bits, and
There's actually, I
Well,
think they're called the 501st, but they're the stormtroopers like group here.
Yeah. But a lot of the Marvel movies, so much promotional stuff, so much marketing for kids, yet the kids can't actually watch the movies because they're too violent. But yeah. So I want to ask this because I'm curious because I know there's So the difference between a commercial just a commercial shop sewing machine for costuming compared to the high end, and then the more industrial overlappers and stuff. Why? Like, what's the difference between them all? Why would you go between one to the other? And is the extra features on like the high end sewing machine going to really help when you're actually doing costuming?
I think you just need to get a really good brand. So yes, sewing machine, but you don't need industrial. The reason why you do it in an industrial one is because, well, they in sweatshops they're just really easy to go, just really super quick, right?
Yeah.
You don't need industrial things. I mean, we've got a couple of industrial sewing machines that we use for making flags and making sewing canvas and really heavy duty stuff. But I've just got a top end kind of Janome sewing machine, and in fact the overlocker that I use I bought 25 years ago second hand. It's been serviced a few times and that's still going, and that's all you need. I mean, the thing about getting like a good one rather than going and buying something that's a third of the price, like an helmet or something, is that it will last really well.
Yeah,
it really robust.
Same. After 2 years of working at Joann's Fabrics and Crafts, where like we did everything with fabric, sewing machines, I noticed a lot of people always bought the like very starter Singer basic, and it's just like, please don't. I will recommend you not to do it because it's well, if you're a beginner, a sewing machine's nice to have, but they break so easily and they don't have any settings that can help you. So once you've gotten to a point where you're learning, you have to drop another 200, $300 anyway to go get a nice sewing machine that actually works and has settings. I would say you still don't need the industrial because again, if you're doing costuming and things like that, industrial seems more for like a very, hey, we got to get these things done. Costuming's very like, hey, you might have like 5-6 months to work down on this project you're doing for like a costume, or you have time to work on it. I wouldn't really recommend just getting the high end thing if it's like the industrial one. but I would say get a good sewing machine because they will have settings that might help you if you're working with denim fabrics, or if you have some like, gosh, there's like, you could have linens and denim, you can have, vinyls. There
You
are
can
certain things that
you can sew
are all
leather as well. Yeah.
yeah, leather. I've actually have a sewing machine that can work with leather. So if you were working with leather, you want the actual machine that can work with it instead of just going, oh, I'm gonna sew, and then my machine gets stuck and can't pull it, and then it breaks, and then you're left with a broken machine.
Emi,
Mm.
you're trying not to say something.
I bought a cheap sewing machine.
It's okay, Abby.
It's a learning curve.
I
It's
could just
nice
see it
for,
in
like,
the
a learning
face.
curve.
Just like I have the cheap sewing machine.
No, but
I
you know
feel
what? That's fine. That's just fine for just doing normal material. But
Yeah.
it really is. As soon as you start doing heavier and multiple things and working with leather and denim, then you can. I mean, when you, it's also about the needles as well. There's
Yeah.
certain types of needles and
The needle, the presser foot are also very important because you swap them out for different fabric. And
yeah.
while I mean, the basic ones can work for everything, like you could use it if you really wanted to. It's a lot harder. And I recommend just switching out the presser foot, getting the one that works with denim, and just
Yeah.
having an easier time than struggling to make it work.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because I use a Janome and is the XL2, and it's got everything. It came with a bag with all the feet, the whole thing, and it even has an instruction book in there. So if I kind of go, because I'm teaching myself. I mean, I'm not trained. I just kind of go. If ever I get stuck, I go. I learned to do invisible zippers off of YouTube. And you just piece it together, and yeah, but it's strong enough that is robust enough to get through basic leather sort of things, and I do actually have a hand wound old Singer, right? That I would sew leather with, because you see them even you go overseas. In fact, you see the local store down near me. There's a guy who sews boots, right?
Mhm.
And he has one exactly the same, a hand sewing machine, just bang, bang, and you can see this needle just punching through like that, and you're going, keep your fingers clear of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can also, two things, but I also know where you're coming from, Emmy, because when I first started working at Joann's, I wanted to get into sewing, and since our machines like go on sale every now and then, they had the very basic one going on sale for 50% off. I get my discount, so I was like, I'll try it. Regretted it because it broke immediately like a month later, and it was not good.
Well, mine hasn't broken
But
yet, so
luckily yours didn't break. I just got like a really janky one that did not work. It worked for the purposes I needed.
It was made on Friday afternoon in the factory, was it?
For those not in Australia, we have something called the Australian Consumer Guarantee, where everything has a 1-year warranty, no matter what.
I ended up returning that machine. Don't worry.
Yeah. Well, I would assume so, especially if you're working in the same company.
And then the other thing is like you were saying, you have an old machine. I actually, my upstairs in our like guest room that we have, my mom still has my great grandmother's vintage sewing machine that has like a desk that it flips under, and then it can flip back up. And she has like this old, really pretty vintage one that I was like, I would love to use that, but I can't use it anymore because it doesn't work. But I'm like, it's such a nice piece just to see it and see where it's come now.
Yeah.
I just scored one of those. Our next door neighbour is a 93, and she just put it out in the throw out. It was going to be picked up by council, and I said, well, what are you going to do with that? She said, oh no, she said, oh, I can't use it anymore. And I just went, can I have it? And she said, oh, it works fine. And so we've got this thing. It's just amazing, and it's the push pedal.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm really in it. Yeah, and it works perfectly. I just can't wait to.
So my Goblin's hag mother, she used to have. I don't know if we ended up getting it thrown out. I tried to get it thrown out. We had an old, like vintage desk, like built into the desk, made of cast iron, weighs a ton. Yeah, the whole works. Vintage sewing machine. And we also had, or she also had, one which was about the same, but the desk had somewhere been thrown away or destroyed, and there was this slab of, just this thick slab of wood, which it was still attached to, and you can see where the wood's been ripped off the desk. May have been a fire or something like that. I tried getting rid of them. Probably still have them because of the hoarding, yeah. But yeah, they never worked. Tried to donate them to a antiques thing or whatnot, but I don't think we ever could. But they're not easy to find, but they're still out there.
I love vintage stuff.
Yeah, I think I've seen
Yeah,
I've seen
all
both
cast iron.
like the early 1900s all the way to like the mid 1900s to where I'm at now with like machines, because my grandmother used to also make dresses, and she has like a machine, I think from the 60s or the 70s. I can't remember, but it's one of those, and it's just like it's really old, but it's like still kind of like one of the top models of that era.
Mm.
So it's just cool seeing like how they're different and how they differ from now.
Yeah. So when I started, like as I said, I don't really do costuming, but I used to do medieval society stuff. Many years ago, when I came out of high school, used to go into medieval society stuff. I had a kilt and things like that, and the first kilts that I had made during that time was just like a length of like 15, 16 foot of plaid, not actual tartan, but plaid. And we had just elastic to a bit of it and then like looped around. So you're essentially wearing just a dodgy skirt with a extra at the end. Sewed that myself somehow, and then was taken to a friend's place because we were getting ready to go to the festival for the first time, and his grandmother was there, who had spent her life as a seamstress. She unpicked everything I did, re-sewed everything by hand in a fraction of the time that it took for me to do it, and it lasted like years and years and years and years of abuse. So I want to ask, how much hand sewing do you actually do in your costumes and the outfits? Any at all?
I've done a little for like very minor like accessory stuff. The only hand sewing I've ever, and I will never ever do it again, dear Lord, no. I've hand sewn a set of 4 drapes for my mother. That's it. Not hand sewing ever again after that, because it took literally years.
Oh,
It was like, I think a like good 5-month project with me and my grandmother. Hand sewing on our hands and knees, just stitching everything together.
I'll hand sew things like if I need to like sew on like a ribbon, like and like a little spot for like a tie or something. But for the most part, I'm too lazy to hand sew.
I'm pretty lazy on it.
Yeah,
I've done like armbands and things like that, but no, not the old outfit.
Yeah, trying to hand sew hemming, like bottom of, making curtains is just soulless. Like,
it took forever, but it was because she wanted it to have no seams showing, and I was like, I can't do that on my machine. My machine won't do that, so I have to do it with the invisible stitch hand, and I'm like, this takes forever.
So
it's worth it.
What skills have you picked up that you thought you never would when doing this?
Honestly, when I was cosplaying as a teenager, I never thought I would have actually ever sewn. I honestly was just buying costumes with friends, and we were just like going out and having fun. And then I started working at a fabric store and was like, I want to sew. There's so much fabric here. It's so pretty and it's so much fun. And then I realized how expensive it is. Then I hated my life for doing it.
I know.
Because I have literally like a good $400, $500 worth of fabric in my sewing room that I'm just continuously sewing.
Got so much. When especially upholstery fabric, when it's on sale, really beautiful stuff, I can't help myself. So I just get a meter of that. That'll come in handy.
I think I have an entire roll of I have a roll of fabric that went out of stock. Like it wasn't gonna ever come back, and I have it. It's my mother's curtains. She bought the entire thing with me, and we were like, well, we'll make another set of curtains eventually. No, I'm not doing that. It's sitting there and I'm not gonna do it.
Emi?
Yep. Yeah, I think I never expected how obsessed with fabric I'd be. Like, I go to a fabric store and I have to will myself not to buy all these different patterns because I'm like, this looks cute and this looks cute.
Oh no, my pattern collection is like growing still.
I will say I did have a collection of tartans, or sorry, of plaids. They're not tartans. Different colours, different sets. From when I used to do the medieval stuff. But what skills? Like what did you think you'd never pick up? Like,
surprisingly, makeup. Yeah. Growing up, I wasn't one of those girls who wore makeup. I never wore makeup. And then I got into cosplay, and I've probably been wearing makeup for cosplay for like the past, like, I got really into cosplay like last year and the year before. So I started like really getting into makeup over that time. And now I'm just like, I want to look at eyeshadows and like try all these new things with makeup. And it's just, I was never good at makeup. I was never one of those makeup girls, but now I am.
and you can even do makeup streams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I could.
Bilby does, one of the artists that we use for the channel does makeup streams, and with his community learned how to do makeup. Yeah. Sid, what about yourself? What did you think you'd never pick up? Like the out of the box stuff, because you've been doing it probably longer.
I never thought I'd actually consider myself, to be an artist. Actually, I was always a musician, and I always did, But some of the stuff now, I kind of go back. I look at some of the stuff I design, and I kind of go, well, maybe I am an artist rather than I don't know. I'm not sure, but I guess sewing must be one of them. But I've always been good. I mean, except for me, like constructing, like I used to do woodwork and metalwork, and I can weld, and I can do all that sort of stuff. I can build stuff, and then with sewing, it clicked with me because I kind of went, well, it's actually all about the preparation. As long as you're, and I say it now, to anybody, say, oh, I can't sew. How do I sew? And I say, prepare. Just prepare anything. It's like welding. Prepare it. Make sure the joints go together. Go and do it all. So it's all methodical. So, but I never thought I'd actually kind of make a living out of what I.
Yeah. So as Mr. Producer just said, technical skills translating across to,
Trial and error.
Yep.
A lot of trial and error.
Oh yeah, a lot of error. We'll get to that.
Sometimes errors can be really fortuitous.
Yeah, we'll get to the errors. I do want to ask about the errors. So I see a lot of because somehow, as I've said earlier, that I'm linked into a lot of cosplayers through Twitter. I don't know where the links come from, like which person I've followed is then linked me to all these cosplayers. But what technical things have you either wanted to try to emulate or have used to get an effect in a costume? And when I mean technical, I mean like electronics or something along the lines. But there's also, we'll add this to what engineering as well, or. So not just makeup, not just hair, not just costume, but wings for a costume, stilts maybe, props.
Prop, actually. It's very old and dingy now because it's been with me for like 2 or 3 years now. A headset that I made for this character in particular, because he literally wears this headset everywhere with his theme song playing. And I literally hand painted them, we spray painted it. We made the little like Velcro binding around it so that you could literally take it off and it literally comes out. And so then it's actually got it underneath. We put the like side pieces for it so that it has his design on it. Like very technical, but it just literally sits around my neck and go out, enjoy the character.
But can you pump the music coming from it though?
It's actually wireless. So yep, I can connect it to my phone and it'll play music.
Okay, so that's the technical. I mean, not just the physical, but the technical side of connecting your phone to it and things like that.
I wanted to make sure that when I had it, since his actually are always playing, I wanted them to be able to play. Yeah. And I saw a lot of people doing like little, you can grab a cheap one, cut the wires, paint it. But I was like, no, I need it to be wireless. So I went the extra mile to get it wireless.
Yep. Emi?
I've never actually done anything with like technology and things like that. As I said, I'm still technically a very new to cosplay,
Yep.
but I do like there's certain costumes where like there's one in particular where her name's Maraka Kaname from Puella Magi Madoka Magica, and she has like her god outfit, and I kind of want to do like put some lights in it so it seems like she's glowing, and because her skirt looks like a galaxy, so it like look like stars and stuff. Like that's my dream cosplay.
Yep.
So something like the Met Gala, someone had something similar?
Yeah. So kind of like I've seen similar things for like when they're doing like that Cinderella, like the newest Cinderella with the blue dress. They always have like lights and stuff in it. It's so pretty.
Yeah. Sid? What
Oh,
about
I'd like to be able to learn how to actually program LEDs. I mean, all the lighting that I've got in the umbrellas, you know, and in the costumes are all, you know, little 12-volt LED strips, or they're the color changing LED, you know, MR14 and MR16 lights. So it's all really rudimentary, the stuff like that, you know, but it's used to, and then likewise, Andrea will kind of go, well, that's the sort of lighting we've got. Well, then we use these sort of paints, and then it'll, you know, you get the color movement and blah blah blah. So we kind of, that's how we work together. But I'd like to be able to program them so that I can have like a strip of lights and have images going across it, or I'd like to be able to use that a little bit better. And also sort of Arduino, that sort of, I'd like to learn how to use like program to make servos and things, so I can make a bit more animatronic. You know, my foray into animatronics was basically if I don't know if you've put the Baroque costumes on there with the lampshades.
They're in there. They haven't come. They don't come across.
There.
Yep.
Right. Well, there's actually a talking bird. So in the Baroque period, it was all about, they'd have mockingbirds and little songbirds in a cage. And so I thought, oh, it'd be great. I'd love to make a little animatronic songbird. And I had this little talking bird where you press the button and it goes, hello. And then you'd say hello back, but it actually records you. And then it would repeat what you've just said. I mean, it's loads and loads of fun with that. And then in the end, what I did, I just worked out how it moved. And so all I've got is a little button so that it's sort of, the little button just makes it move a little bit. And then I've used, you know, in birthday cards, you can program a message. Like press a little button, program a message. So I bought a couple of those. So on the side of the cage, so it's a talking bird, it only says 6 things. So I press the button and then quickly move my finger across and make the beak move at the same time. So ideally, what I'd really like to do is to be able to do something where I can just
press a button, it all works.
Make something, you know, make something new, or make a character so that when you do talk, the mouth can move at this, you know, a little bit more naturally, and the eyes blink and all that sort of stuff. And it's quite basic, but yeah, I just need somebody to show me how it works properly. It's a confidence thing, I'm sure, once I get it done. It's probably all about the preparation. Probably.
Do have a question from Highness. Highness is a streamer from Melbourne who does sim racing. He's popped in. He's asked, interested in moving my camera into a boom mic with a voice. With boom mic with a voice using Arduino and motors. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, Arduino is like you program the code and it goes into a chip, and then that operates the thing.
Okay.
I've done very basic stuff. I've done circuit bending. There's a guy called Nick, and he ran a circuit bending course. So what he does, he gets toys, and you mess around with the toys or doorbells or the electronic sound, and you manipulate the sound. So you actually work out how the toy works, and then you put in little dials, and you can speed up the voice, speed up sound. You can mutate the sound beyond belief, so it sounds like a robot, anything, right? And he has a band called Toy Death. and they make music by bending all the circuits from, like, I've got a guitar that's a wiggles, that you press the buttons and it plays wiggles, but then I've worked out how to speed it up, and I've worked it out to speak backwards so it sounds a bit like the devil, and and it's great. But they make music, they sell CDs, they travel all over the world, they work in Japan, do gigs in Japan, and they dress up as toys, but they play live music with these toys, and they get like a trumpet and it sounds like a screaming guitar, or it's amazing. And anyway, he started showing me how to use Arduino and how to program it from the Mac. And
so I figured out what was being asked. Highness does a lot of voice activated everything, because Highness uses on the stream, he uses VR for pretty much everything. And so when someone comes in, all he has to do is say, hi Karsh, and voice activation then will play the Weeby Goblin song, because Karsh a goblin. And for any of his regular viewers, he has these set up. He also has changing scenes for the movements of cameras and different scenes, and lots and lots and lots of different things. Now I figured out, yes, that's what he's talking about, the voice-activated moving a boom mic away or coming closer, or, that would be really a different way of doing this.
That's magic.
But the amount of time you put into each of those things.
That sounds so cool.
But that could work as well.
Amazing.
That could work as well.
It's really smart people out there.
That could work as well to, like, having a puppet where you actually say hello and voice activation goes, say hello and then activate this or do that or play this back. And you can have this mock conversation with a puppet or a prop where it's all done by voice activation.
I mean, I've seen there's people who do, there's a guy who used to have this, like it looked like a Muppet on a bike, and it used to cycle around, and he had the little radio control thing to move the body, but when he spoke through the microphone, the attenuation, he developed this thing so that when he spoke, the mouth would move at the same time. There was very, very little latency in it, and it was always great. And I'd watch him talk, and I'd try and I'd be watching the mouth of the puppet, just going, "Wow, that's so cool."
Yeah. So things like that could be added in to costumes and added into further props and further things. There was one thing that got me, and I've worked it out, and I don't know what the reference was. I don't know what the actual, like, it was a cosplay outfit, and someone was showing it off, and it was a beautiful effect. They had a clear shield. Like a boss in the middle of a clear shield. Around the boss is all just like, it would have to be clear perspex or something, and then they had the outside design of the shield, which was like golden bits and pieces, and it had an effect, and it was a beautiful effect. It was after a little bit of time, like lines started appearing, like blue lines started appearing off the shield, like from the clearness. And it took me a while to figure it out, and I think I've got it figured out. What it is they've cut the clear perspex, then they've re-glued it. So seeing it front on, you can't see the cuts. But if they've got LEDs on the outside programmed in, the LEDs are pointing through the perspex, which you can't see until it hits the cut. When it hits the cut, that's the line you see of blue.
Yeah, it's similar to fiber optics. I mean, that's how you see those fiber optic wands. You can kind of see the light traveling through it, but it's not until you get to the end where it's being cut that the light disperses. So I guess it's a simple.
Yeah, well, it'll be LED or fiber, that type of thing. And I was looking for age, and it popped up on my Twitter. I'm like, that's really cool. That's a really neat effect. And then I've tried to figure it out, like you do. And I think I've figured it out, which would be something like that.
Does anyone else watch Adam Savage's Tested on YouTube?
I've seen some of his work and some of his breakdowns, and
he does some really cool costume work, and like
Yeah.
he goes through how he builds them and things like that. Like he recently did No Face from he did it before, but he did No Face again from a movie called Spirited Away, and he's got like this big mouth that he's got his hand in. Basically, he's like, so it opens up and like the tongue's there and like the lips aren't quite attached to the mouth, so it's kind of rolls back and you can see all the teeth, and oh, it looks so cool.
Yeah.
And he put like a speaker and like microphone, so when he walks around he just sounds like the character, and it is so cool.
He likes going to the conventions and not being himself, and
Yeah.
no one knows it's him.
Yeah. He likes to hide.
Yeah. For someone that's been in front of the camera for so long, he likes to hide when going and doing conventions. Yeah. So, and I know this one for you, Sid, but I want to ask for Emi and for Nia, have you ever thought of using paper mache
Yes.
for costuming, and have you used it, and how did it work, or how badly did it fail?
I thought about using it, but I haven't used it yet.
Same. I haven't used it yet, but there are some really cool tutorials out there with like using paper mache to like make your custom like boot covers and stuff like that. So I'd be down to try it.
I use paper mache.
Probably won't
to
work
make
very
it.
well, but I mean,
I need to get around to
mask.
using paper mache to make my giant watermelon for Nora.
Yeah.
I need my watermelon hammer.
yes.
And Sid, I know you've done it. What costumes have you done, and why did you use paper mache?
I can't remember what costumes I've done.
I know
I
Crocky.
think we used.
And I think the ratting,
Oh.
the corporate rats.
Oh, actually, no. That's not. That's foam.
Is it? Oh, I thought they were paper mache.
Yeah, and what we do, that's just foam. We stick blocks of foam together to make the rough sort of shape, and then we get a electric carving knife.
Yep.
And then we sculpt it, and then we stick the fur on top of it, or whatever.
Okay. I thought the rat.
I've used it. I've done workshops with kids and made them help and help friends' kids make masks, like really good masks for things like Book Week and that sort of stuff. So the paper mache is great for doing that.
Okay, so I've got to bring Goblin to your place for Book Week next year. Cool. I will say I know where you live, but I don't, because you've moved and I've forgotten where you've moved to. Damn. That's
I'm
okay.
never going to give you my address.
That's okay. I know where the warehouse is at the moment. We'll just let him run loose in the warehouse, climbing everything.
Oh no.
Book character dress up day, the beginning of cosplay.
Oh no.
Actually, talking about Book Week, my sister works in marketing and works in marketing and has a marketing team underneath her, and she used to pretty much use everyone in the marketing team to do cosplay, like to do the Book Week stuff for her daughter for the Book Week. She always had the best outfits when you've got like a team of 5 or 6 highly creative people working on them. Yeah, absolutely loved it.
Yeah, well, I know some really, really brilliant artists who know how to do all that sort of stuff. So their kids always, they quite often come to myself or Paul, my colleague, to do the sewing. But they, it's great having a parents who are actually arty. I feel sorry for the ones, who I do know some people who really just do their computer stuff, and they just are not. Some people are just not practical people, and generally they're the kids who go to go to Book Week in cardboard boxes drawn in texture, rather than these beautiful masks with feathers coming out of them.
Although a cardboard box can work really impressively. First, my Goblin goes to a special needs school, and there's a lot of people with wheelchairs and things like that. In the first school that he went to, Sam, who has a motorised wheelchair for Book Week, went as, I believe, the pirate from Peter Pan, and they put essentially his whole wheelchair became a big pirate ship,
That's
and
cool.
it was
Also,
massive.
it's Captain Hook.
Oh, so
Yeah.
Captain. I was thinking. Yes, Captain Hook, and his whole wheelchair became the Meadows wheelchair became the pirate ship. Had a mask, had everything towards it, and it was just hand painted. It was markers on boxes, but it really made the effect beautiful, and everyone was super impressed compared to people with store bought stuff. Although, yeah,
we helped turn amazing what you can do with cardboard boxes and egg boxes. We turned somebody's son who was in a wheelchair into Davros from Doctor Who. I don't know if you guys remember the Daleks from Doctor Who. And Davros was the guy who created them, and he was basically the lower half was a Dalek body, and then the upper half. Yeah, in fact, we did make a Dalek once, and so it was egg boxes all the way around the base, and then it was with a washing basket over the top, and then a plunger coming out of the washing basket, sprayed silver.
yeah. So I want to ask this because we've set across about an hour and a half, and I know, Sid, you probably got stuff on today, especially for all the stuff going on in the background. So only
Distraction.
Sorry.
It's a distraction.
I know.
I don't like it.
I know there's stuff going on this weekend. It's like, yay. So I only a few other questions I want to ask. So what percentage do you put into each of you put into like outfit, makeup, hair, wig, etc. And well, no one's really going to the tech side of things here, but what percentage do you put into each of those parts of an outfit? Like,
What do you mean percentage? Like effort?
yeah, what effort, what amount of time, what amount of focus, what amount of...
Depends on the costume.
It depends
Yeah.
how approximate it has to be. As I say, like a Hagrid costume, people see it as being Hagrid, but if you looked at what Hagrid actually wears, what's his name? I've forgotten the actor's name. What he actually wears in the movies, it's like not Hagrid.
Yeah.
But the wig, there's a few basics you can get away with. To immediately people go, oh, that's so.
I would always say I put the most effort into the wig and my makeup the most first, because I want to pull off the look of the character the most with like facial recognition. Like if you look at that character's hair and that face, like makeup that they have, that scar they have, you'll know it's them.
Yeah.
Even if the outfit isn't exactly perfect, it's it's who it is based off of their hair and their style of like what they look like. I'd say I still put a lot of effort into my costume, but it just depends character by character. Like Maeva, who I'm going to be cosplaying from Rusty Daggers, I'm making it up as I go because the art was very kind of free, take it as you will, because the art is not exact, like every little thing that you could possibly have. It's kind of left up to me to what I want to put into it. So it's kind of like that. If I want to put in something else,
I will note that you briefed the artist, and the artist did your design.
Oh, I know. I mean, like the thing is, her art design isn't like, say, like Peach. Peach has very like simplistic style, and that's kind of where I put Jumin. Is like it's not the most in detail, like every little thing possible.
Yeah.
And I'm not gonna expect that because it would honestly take forever if I was to be like, hey, this and this and this and this and this and this and this, because it would take literally years. But it's like there also is kind of like even an art like a character's reference is only a reference. You can always make up other things that the character likes and put into the outfit. So it's kind of like that for me. I'll just see what I like, and if I want to change and alter things, go with it. Go with the flow.
With me, with the different areas, as I said, it 100% depends on the character. Like with makeup, for the most part, it's just general makeup. But like, say, if I'm doing a male character like this one, it takes a lot more effort because I have to contour my face a lot more to look hopefully a bit more masculine. Whereas like if I'm playing if I'm doing a female character, then I can kind of just do like a natural look that takes like 5-10 minutes, and I'm fine. With wigs, it depends. Again, all wigs, obviously, like your general wig care, like you have to brush them, things like that. But there's a few where you can kind of just like throw them on and kind of mess it a little bit, and like this
And
one.
cut them.
The Boris Johnson look.
You can
Yeah.
kind of cut
Yeah,
them
actually.
into the exact sort of style that you need.
Yeah, like
Needs
sure, it's like
getting
the
made
effort
as-
beforehand, but like when you're getting into the costume, it's not as much effort.
Exact example. Wigs that you can just throw wherever you want and you don't care because they're short. You don't like. Wow, look how much effort I really have to. I can just throw this around and it's not gonna matter. The style's there. But something like this, no, I'm not throwing it anywhere because that hair is gonna get tangled. It's gonna be a mess, and I'm gonna hate my life later.
Like I always. Oh, actually, that's a bad example.
That's a
Perfect example. Mava's wig.
yeah. So
Extremely long. You don't want to mess it up. It'll get tangled. Long wigs in general, just don't throw them anywhere.
Yeah, well, especially as it's sort of nylon. So it's not even, once they start getting tangled, like it's not like hair where you can actually brush hair through.
Yeah.
It just starts to almost fuse, and that's
You have to like
it's stuffed.
very gentle, very like go from the ends. You have to use like tangle sprays and everything.
Like I always store my long wigs in braids.
Yep.
Because it helps a lot. Because otherwise, like all my wigs go in, like the netting they come in, plus a Ziploc bag. I'm very, very meticulous about how I store my wigs. But like, yeah. And then when back to what we were talking about before, when it comes to like the effort I put into the actual costume, things like this one, like it's a button-up shirt. It doesn't take a lot of effort, but like I'm doing other costumes where I'm making them from scratch. It's lots and lots of effort. So it depends on the costume, kind of like what needs to be done with each of them. So yeah.
Well, I mean, because as art pieces, we do have to maintain them quite a lot. But there's so much. I mean, Andrea is my partner. She's got a real eye for detail, so it has to be absolutely perfect. Because we're presenting them as art. There's a lot of maintenance.
Because they are that moving art.
Yeah. There's a lot of grooming and things. Yeah. And storing. And one of the provisos about all our costumes, because we do work in the Middle East and Europe, they all have to fit in suitcases. They all have to be under 30 kilograms of a certain size. So you have to make the costume and bear in mind it needs to be put into a suitcase and come out. And so, a lot of effort goes into those. And because they're also our own creations, we're our worst enemies as far as detail is concerned, because there can never be enough detail and proofing and plushing and unsquishing and things you can do to make it look good. So, and in contrast, Hagrid, his wig, I take it off, I turn it inside out, and goes into a bag, and his wig the same. In fact, the messier it looks, and the more bits of stuff that gets picked up, twigs that get picked up from the floor when I accidentally drop it on the floor, the better, because it all adds to the effect.
Yeah.
Probably why I'm like not as careful with Mava, but I'm also still careful because it's a long wig. Don't tangle it, but if it's tangled a little and it has some mattage, she's a druid. She runs in the wild anyway. It's kind of whatever.
Put some twigs in there.
Just stick some more feathers and wigs and everything, and it's fine. It's whatever. Nature.
I will say that when I used to do the medieval society things, like having dirty outfits and costume was totally okay. The rougher it looked for me worked with the costume, worked with the persona, worked with the image I was trying to present. So things didn't always get rushed. You'd have stains on them from previous years. You'd have alcohol stains and burn marks from the fires and things like that, because it worked better. and cigarette stains and whatnot, which wasn't for me. Actually, I was a smoker, but it wasn't mine.
That's a bit of authenticity.
Yeah, exactly. There's one other, like two other things I wanted to ask before we do close up the show. How much thought is put into the wearability of a new design, i.e., hot conditions for summer, especially in Australia conditions, or for long-term wearability if you know you're going to be wearing it for, say, an entire day at a convention? And I'm really curious about this one, not just for the hot conditions, because I know that's bad for summer, but talking to another streamer down from Melbourne who did an entire day of drag at PAX, and he never does that. Like, he never does the full makeup and everything for that period of time, and it just was exhausting, and was just, yeah. So what's the thought put in for comfort and for the wearability?
Most cosplayers, none.
Well, I know with me and my group, there's
something.
there is like some thought because our main convention is in the middle of summer. It's in November, which is start of it's getting really warm here. We have to take the bus in to the convention every year, and so we have to think about not only things like, okay, let's pick costumes that maybe are a little bit cooler to wear. Like, does this character have like a summer version, or can we do something that'll maybe like, it's like, oh, this character has a jacket, but like maybe we could just have you like hold it most of the day and like put it on for pictures, sort of thing. We also have to think about, as I said, the bus. We take the bus in every year. So we haven't had an issue much with big props because we don't really use them. But this year we're going to be wearing some wings in some of our costumes.
I love wings. Right.
Yeah.
That I don't know how that's going to go. I think we're going to have to like carry the wings in and like put them on at the convention because they're like, I'd have to go grab them, but they're like
big.
They're like this big, like wide wings.
Yeah.
Like,
there's that wonderful woman in the States who makes those beautiful wings.
oh,
Have you seen that video? Of her making them and that? They're just beautiful. I mean, yeah.
I think for me with wearability, it depends on character, but also again, like, depends on weather. Because 2 of my main conventions are usually during the winter, which I've also played a lot of. I've dressed up as characters who are very scantily clad or have no clothing that is appropriate for, hey, it's cold and I'm gonna freeze to death. So usually it's remembering to bring like my own natural clothes. So I'm gonna bring my jacket, or I'm gonna bring, some gloves for my hands. I'm gonna bring things that I usually carry around like a backpack with me that has supplies that I would want. Especially since we're wearing costumes so long throughout the day, and especially if you're at a convention, food is extremely expensive. Always keep like snacks and drinks and things with you on hand so that you don't get exhausted, get tired, pass out, because I've had friends who've passed out because they didn't go and get food. So it's kind of like you have to think about things prior, but with costume wise, it just really depends on weather and if you're like driving or if you're riding a bus for like Emmy, or if you're at the convention itself. Like I go to Comic Con and AWA, Anime Week in Atlanta, both of which I stay at the con hotel. So they're linked just directly to the con. I don't have to go outside unless I really need to. So usually I can get away with not having to go out in the cold. But if I am going out in the cold for photos, then I usually bring a jacket, or I'll wear an extra set of clothes underneath. Usually I'll wear like, I think it's Under Armour is what I wear. I usually wear like an Under Armour like pants and shirt so that I'm not freezing.
there's 2 type of cosplayers. Ones that plan their cosplay for the weather, and the others that just wear whatever they want and suffer.
I used to be one of
Suffer
those
from the
people
art.
who just suffered because
Clear up.
I used to wear this entire costume and never take anything off. I would just sweat to death in it. By the end of the day, I'd rip my wig off and be like, my head is aching. I'm going to go and lie down and cry myself to sleep. Why am I doing this?
Sweaty mess.
Wig hair.
So-
Oh my god, wig hair is awful.
So Sid, what about for yourself? For yourself
all
and
our
for those that
costumes-
wear things with you?
Yeah, well, all our costumes have got umbrellas, so they're all based around umbrellas because the lighting's inside the umbrellas, or and in the case of the Impressionists, they're giant sunflowers and giant poppies because it's a field of poppies and there's sunflowers.
And there's night work.
Yeah, I could say it's all evening. So we built the costumes to work at for evening events because Vivid, it was around the Sydney Vivid Festival, so and nobody was really doing anything like it and making costumes with LEDs. So it just depends. Some of the costumes are more robust, like the Cloudmen. They're actual umbrellas that are off the shelf, but they've just got lights inside them. So the clouds just happen to be exactly the same clouds that when they arrived, they were exactly the same shape as the clouds that Andrea had painted on the suits and on the bowler hats. So they are really quite robust. Obviously, wind. Sometimes it's howling and we just can't go out. The other thing is you can't actually hold an umbrella out for more than about. I mean, I do it I'm right-handed, but I hold my umbrella with my left hand because Andrea holds it with her right hand. That's how we get the vignette, how we get the picture, and holding an umbrella for more than 40 minutes. And the muscles of the back are starting to spasm. So
And they've got lights in them as well to weight them down as well.
Yeah, some are heavier, some are lighter, some are and also so we are shaded from the sun, but we're not protected from the wind. Vulnerable for the wind, can't hold them for too long.
And you're wearing a suit.
What's that?
And you're wearing a suit.
Yeah, and they're quite close fitting. So we do, when we do go out and it's 30 degrees, we do get really hot. The only costume that we don't actually hold umbrellas, or I don't hold an umbrella, is the Elephantessence, which is the beautiful kind of big dance fabric elephant, and he's got big elephant ears which do catch the wind. The first time we ever did that costume was in England at this festival in England, this big posh festival there, and it is like a seal. It's almost like a big sealed bag suit. So inside I've got like a bit of a big ring. It's like a cotton inside sort of onesie with a big ring around it to give it the girth of an elephant, and then it's the elephant suit over the top of it. And we went to. You don't have any pictures of that. It's not on the website. No. Oh damn! I should have sent you some. It's beautiful. It's absolutely gorgeous, and it was a heat wave in England. So the very, very first time I ever wore it, it was like 34 degrees. It was one of the hottest days they'd had in England for like 50 years, right? And I was just, from the moment I put it on, I was sweating, absolutely sweating. And I could only do 20 minutes at a time. And each time I came in, I'd be pulling the helmet off, opening the suit up and standing next to the air conditioning fan, filling the suit full of air, because it was just insane. It couldn't have been the worst conditions to have tried this suit. It was like a boil in the bag chicken. Felt like.
So maybe an ice vest investment for that suit, or like
we do have that.
As you're describing it, it's like you got as you said, you got a onesie and then you got an outer layer which is like the elephant. So maybe an inlet and outlet fan to get air flowing through that section.
Yeah. The only trouble is that we have got some fat costumes that we do which do inflate. Yeah. But you've got this constant humming of you've got to carry a battery that's going to power the fan, and then you've got this thing hanging off the back. Yeah. And the funny thing is, like doing these big fat costumes, like the fat elves and the fat, there's always the kids they look at you and go, oh, that's inflatable, where's the fan? And then you find them, they're poking their fingers in the fan, and they're talking to somebody, and your suit's going down like this. Somebody's kids stuck their finger in the fan.
Okay, I've never thought of that, but yeah.
Yep.
So
Ooh, something to play with.
yeah.
Yeah.
Going
Where's
back.
that child got the finger poking up your giant backside?
So going back to going back to the drapes and going back to wearability, and Sid, I don't know if you've picked up what I'm about to say, but wearing drapes as a costume, what would you think is like the wearability of wearing thick drape material?
Well, the Baroque costumes, right? Those Baroque costumes we've got, those panels, we bought these swatches of really, really expensive fabric. Like these are super, super posh. So these, if you bought a couch that was made from this fabric, it would cost you like £20,000 or £10,000, right? So we were limited, but they're beautiful, beautiful fabrics. So we were limited to making costumes with pieces of fabric this big, but lots and lots of different types of fabrics. So we made the costumes, and they're insanely hot. So again, it's not the sort of thing you can wear for too long.
But what about making a tabard?
Well, we look fabulous.
Yes. What about making like a medieval tabard?
Well, you know, I did use upholstery material to make those medieval tabards, and you guys all complained that you were basically wearing medieval tabards in the 30 degrees heat.
No, it was only about 20 degrees heat, but you feel 30 because the material is so thick and warm. Yeah. So last question, because we're going to wrap it up after this. I really want to know injuries, hot glue guns, sewing machine accidents. What's happened? What's the worst stories you have?
Hot glue gun's pretty bad.
Because I know everyone has these stories. What?
Sewing my fingers a few times.
Oh.
Ow.
I haven't actually had a pierced one, but I've cracked a nail. Like it's gone bang like that, and the force is huge. Like you end up with a black fingernail, you end up with a bruise there, so you can't, like, it hurts. But my colleague Paul, he has these great big bouncing stilt kangaroos, okay, and so he's sewing fur, and that's when you do need industrial machines. He's sewing fur together sometimes, and hand sewing it. And he went through his finger. He went through the end of his nail through that part of his finger like that. And I remember him going, "Sid, quick!" I come around, and then having to wind the machine backwards to get his finger out from the machine.
Ow.
I've heard stories of people who've had needles go through their fingers, and it's just not.
I'm so lucky that I have not had any major injury like that. Hot glue guns, yes. I've definitely messed around with hot glue guns and hurt myself, and oof. Like me and a friend were making one of the characters in the game that I'm from made the his overcoat, and he has like these little dots all around his overcoat, and we were making them out of hot glue. And I like burned my hand several times just trying to like make sure they're not coming off. We then ended up finding out that they weren't going to stay on anyway while we're trying to do everything. It was a long process and a lot of hot glue in the middle of the night.
And also using solvent glues as well. I mean, you just get, it makes you really sick. Like if you haven't got the proper ventilation and you're using like contact pieces and stuff like that. I've been in situations where all of a sudden we've all gone, like one of us has got a nosebleed or something going. It was when we first started sticking foams together and things like that. We hadn't even thought about it, and then and all of a sudden you're going, oh God, I feel really, really sick. And it's because you're standing over this solvent glue and it's going in.
Yep.
I can't go near it now. It's like from years of doing fire, I can't, from twirling and juggling fire, I can't stand the smell. It makes me sick. The smell of kerosene, it makes me vomit.
Yep. Know that one well too.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Yeah. What's everyone's stories of costumes breaking on the go?
While live, while out on the...
Yeah. because I've had issues with that where it's like I think the worst one for me was I was walking out of my apartment and my shoes broke. I was like not even 10 meters away from my apartment. I was like, oh, okay. So I walked back home and I got a pair of shoes and I got to the convention and within an hour, those shoes broke too.
Well,
So I had
On
to
the
walk
go.
around in flip-flops.
I had to change out of a friend's outfit that she'd made because the petticoat like broke and it was like falling down, and that was the thing keeping the like dress that I was wearing actually fluffed up like it's supposed to be.
Mm.
So I basically had to strip in in like the actual public spot, getting back into my normal clothes because it was all falling apart. That was fun.
Just went, no, not going to happen, and move on.
Basically, yeah, I had to go and take off an entire like I think it's 1700s, 1800s styled like nobles from like the English. It was like a dress from then because it's you know, I mean you probably know CL Phantom Hive from Black Butler. The CL
Yeah.
dress. Yeah, my friend made that entire dress out of cotton. It's like true to its period that it wasn't satin or silk because it was not a thing they had. They had cotton. And it sadly broke and had to take off the entire thing, take off the wig, and basically strip down in front of people and just be like, I'm gonna pull on my pants and pull on my shirt and let's walk off and like pretend it didn't happen.
And nothing to see here. Move along.
Move along, everyone. Luckily, I had like a group of friends who all just like stood around me and kept everyone from looking. Because
Yeah.
I only had friends who were girls with me, and I'm a guy. They can't go into the bathroom with me. I
Yeah.
can't go into the bathroom with them. So we're just gonna do this.
Yeah.
Yeah, for me, it's more like the, lights. When you're dealing with, it's just like the soldering comes unsoldered or something happens, and then all of a sudden your costume's flashing, and it turns off, and then you practically disappear off the scene because one of you in light and one of you not, or your belt with batteries in it suddenly breaks and you suddenly drops off in the middle of, and sometimes depending, sometimes I'm quite portly and I can hold my trousers up myself, but sometimes I need the belt. If I've lost weight, if I've been training a lot, I'll the belt will, all of a sudden I go, what's that, and realize that I've actually got a belt hanging off my bum and I'm kind of walking around like a duck trying to get back off stage to try and readjust it all. That's of late. But, I mean, when I was more sort of doing a lot more stilt stuff, we had a few kind of, if occasionally your stilt would break, like, and then like the kangaroos, they have these big fiberglass spring on the back of the boot. I don't know if you've seen those stilts when you can jump. They're springy stilts, and sometimes they would snap. They would actually snap, or something would break, and then they were a bit more forgiving because you could actually hop on one foot and hop to safety or grab hold of somebody. But on the actual pole stilts, if you're up on a meter pole stilt and maybe somebody hasn't tightened the joint up properly, or sometimes the actual the buckle will just break away, and all of a sudden you've got your foot attached to a shoe, but there's nothing holding your leg up, and you're standing there just, and I've fallen over a few times on the stilts because they've broken.
And then you get the kids trying to push you over.
It's accumulating over 20 years of stilt walking. I don't really do a lot of it now.
Have you ever had batteries start shorting or issues with those?
Yes, we had battery shorting. That's before I started putting fuses into the circuits.
Yeah,
and it had like a hot piece of wire going from a battery going up the inside of a costume, up the arm, and all of a sudden it was getting hotter and hotter and hotter, and started to smoke, and then it started to burn, and I think it was running. Might have been there was a cotton t-shirt underneath, so it didn't actually burn our skin, but it could have potentially been really, really nasty.
Yeah. So fuses, very important when using electricity.
Well, 12 volts, it's surprising how much heat can come off of a 12 volt short.
Oh yeah.
Well, I mean, it's a car, car battery.
Any other questions would you like to ask, or because I've gone through pretty much all that I want to ask. No, you're
I'm all good.
okay. Well, I'll thank you all for
We've done the
being here.
important things, so machines.
Oh, I've never I've used them doing home ec like at school, but not really. Like it was always home ec which had the most ambulances called out at high school. Always home ec.
Yeah.
So yeah, but yes. Amy, were you going to do the big reveal, were you?
Yes, I'm gonna snatch that weave. Woo.
There you go.
That was your real hair.
Which is only
I have
here for a
real
little bit
hair.
longer.
Oh no, it's all real.
It's all
And it's a
real.
real colour as well.
Well, my hair's actually naturally blonde. So
Except I do dye these bits grey.
yeah.
To make me look
Hello.
older than I really am.
My
So
Halloween hair.
before we do a raid and do a credits roll and a raid, we'll do an outros of again who you are, where people can find you, what you've got coming up. I know Emi, you've got something coming up as well for spooking. So we'll start with Near because I know you've got less coming up. I'm guessing. But
Yeah.
before we do start, on this show, on this channel, we have a very different week. All our normal role-playing shows are going to be not cancelled, but just delayed. We're going to be having Call of Cthulhu for Halloween, for all the channel, all the normal show times, and all of our casts are coming back for doing Halloween versions of their own normal characters. We're mixing up the cast as well, so we may have our blind cleric with a con woman, and we may have a few different bits and pieces. So our goblin show is going to be moved about, our Children of the Marsh is going to be moved about, and our Rusty Dagger show is going to be moved about. And so if your favourite cast member is only on one specific day, you're going to probably have to check out all the different shows because they're all going to be moved about.
Yep.
Or you can check the VODs and all that type of stuff and check our YouTube at the end of the week for all the uploaded stuff. Also, don't forget to check out the goblincave.tv. That's where we have all our stuff through. You can watch us live through there. You can find our social medias, our merch store. Everything runs through there. Although all our social medias are down the bottom as well. A big thank you to the Galerie Mobile for the images that we've been able to do. All the images that we've had scrolling through are from the Galerie Mobile. They're awesome, and they are so vibrant and so creative. And also one last thing, if you donate as well, our normal dollar donations or 100 bits donations to give chat dice to cast members to the shows. If you donate outside of the shows this week, you're going to give that donation to everybody in the cast. So if you donate today, all of the cast on all the characters and all the shows for the week get a bonus dice. If you donate after the first show, between the second and third show, then essentially they get them. So you're going to be donating for everybody throughout the week, as well as when you're on the when we are live, you're just donating for the specific show, and as well possibly specific people. I think that's everything. So let's go to Near, and you can do. I know there's a lot. Near, what do you do? Where can people find you, and etc. etc.
Hey everyone, I'm Near. You can check me out pretty much anywhere in social media, Nearland Light. This week's gonna be really weird because we're all obviously all moving around. I'll be here tomorrow, Monday, with the Weeby Goblins, and it's gonna be very weird because I'm not used to them, so I'm not sure what I'm in for. I feel like I've gotten myself trapped in something, but it's okay. It'll be fine.
Total
I'll be
chaos.
playing Asteria tomorrow, so I'll be a happy, chipper teenage girl in a Call of Cthulhu game. Hopefully, I don't die or go insane.
Okay, fantastic. Emi.
Hi, I'm Emmy Rabbit, but you can call me Emmy. You can find me over either here playing Meg, the Goblin Bard, and I'll be on the I think it's Wednesday for us stream, was it?
I have no idea where people ended up. I really have no idea.
I went.
You're in the Tuesday game for me, so Wednesday, yes.
Yes, I'm in Wednesday.
Yep.
I'm in the Wednesday game. So that's Tuesday for American audiences.
Yep.
Which is going to be interesting. And then you can also find me over on Gathering Nerds, where we do D&D one shots. We've got a few things coming up this week. We're doing we're actually going to doing a Halloween themed one shot. That's on Wednesday, Australian Eastern Standard Time. And on the 12th of November, hang on, let me double check that.
Coming soon.
No, 13th of November, we are doing a Shave for a Cure stream. So that's 12 hours of us hanging out, playing games, and at the end of it, me and another girl, we're going to be shaving our heads. So I'm going to have no hair left. And also, who else is getting like Phantom of the Opera Mozart vibes from my hair and the button-up shirt?
It's different. And the makeup too.
Yeah, it's like it shows how quickly like just changing hair or changing one thing can make something look completely different.
Yep. So, Sid, would you like to do your outro?
Yeah, look, I'm unless you're in the Middle East in January, I don't think you're going to see me for a little while. We're working. We're waiting to get confirmation for either Kuwait or Saudi Arabia. So we'll be working out there with possibly the Cloudmen or the Walks of Art. I'm not too sure just yet. And I've got a few corporate events coming up. But more fun things, I do the teaching, the circus. We do a Halloween thing in Chatswood. So I'll be there. It's one of these wonderful things where we set up the sort of medieval battlements, and the kids come in and they all have to come in fancy dress. So it'll be teaching 30 or 40 kids getting very high on trick or treat sugar, dressed as wizards and witches, and it's got zombie school kids, and it's really, really good fun.
And a lot of bounciness.
Yeah, so that's
a lot of bouncy
exactly.
children until the sugar runs out.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
a lot of
They're
tantrums.
all going to pass out.
Yeah, totally. So my name is Carl Goldman. This is the Goldman Show, and this is our first chat show ever. So hopefully we can do a bit more on other bits and pieces. Thank you everyone for coming in. Thank you Sid for coming in as well. First time on the channel, and again thank you for allowing us to use the artwork and the images from the Galerie mobile. They are amazing. They're so bright, so vibrant. We're going to have just a credits roll, and we're going to be raiding Blue Dalek. Before we do that, though, I just want to point out I think there was only 4 references the entire show that I actually got. Like the pop culture references, of course, the Daleks and Davros, yes. Death Note. The American big cosplayer that sells her own stuff. I can't remember her name now, but
Yaya Han.
Yaya Han, and there was something else. That's about it for the entire thing. Also,
it was a bit of another language for me as well.
there was the cartoon with the faceless.
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. That's the last one.
Yeah.
That was it. The entire thing. And I'm just ignoring the Harry Potter because I don't do Harry Potter.
Wow, rude. Get out.
Yeah.
Oh, hello.
But you still understood the reference.
Yeah, but that's yeah. Less obscure.
away.
Less obscure. So yeah, we'll do a credits roll. Thank you for everyone coming in. Thank you for everyone watching and in chat. And it was nice to actually get questions from chat as well, because this is for people watching. This is what we do. So thank you all. We don't have Syrinscape, so we're not going to have music for the credits, but so just bear with us and we'll do a raid. So thank you everybody again. Bye-bye.
Bye.